Hello.
Hey, how
How's
are
it
you?
going?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm solid, yeah. Sorry, I completely blanked last week once again.
Oh yeah, no
How
worries.
was- Yeah,
Yeah, I
those
can
are
always use like a week off now and then,
uh-huh.
just to have some time to, yeah, like sudden time back is is always nice. But then I don't necessarily make great use of my free time.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah. I yeah, are you feeling all better after your uh
Yeah,
well, that's
yeah, pretty
dentist
much. I still have like the stitches are still in, and they just like come out over time. So that's the phase that it's in now, is just like random strings in my mouth at various
uh
times.
Gotcha.
uh, but yeah, I think it's basically it did pretty well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Did you start playing Baby Steps at all?
I didn't. I'm still excited to. I think it's gonna be maybe when I'm like doing a lot of travel this upcoming month. I think it
Mm.
might be one of my traveling Steam Deck games.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I'm looking forward to that. Uh, yeah, have you like completed all the challenges in it that you wish to complete, or is there uh, more to go? Something you've returned
There's
to?
yeah, there's like a handful of them that are like taking an object to a location. So I actually looked up like a map of like where's the objects and where's the locations. And I
Mm.
did most of those. There's a couple that I could still do, and then there's two that are like one is like complete the game in less than 2 hours. I
Oh
might
wow.
take a shot at that. I might do that at
Yeah.
some point. And one technique that I make use of in these games and in the previous one, like Benefatti's getting over it. At least like the first playthrough, I'll at like very difficult parts. I find what I like doing is, like across several days. If I spend like a couple hour sessions like grinding away at a certain challenge and I feel like I've gotten what I want out of it, and there's just like a final, like in the case of this man breaker trail in the game, there's kind of like a final section that you just, if you fall, you fall all the way down. And I made it
Uh,
there like five, like, I became like very good at just getting all the way there pretty easily. Like it was pretty guaranteed I could get all the way there, but then I failed there like 7 times and had to go all the way back up. And so then I just basically cloned my save so that I could like attempt that location a bunch of times in a row.
uh,
And what ends up happening though is then I get the skill needed to do like the final section. So at some point in the future, I feel like I could come back and like string the whole game together and not need to rely on save scumming. Uh,
yeah, that's
but
cool. That's
yeah,
speed
but I
running.
do. It ends up being like part of this psychological experience for me, because like yeah, like basically if I did that 2 hour, if I tried to do like a 2 hour speed run, I would save whenever I was doing well, so that if I burnt too much time, I could like come back not to the beginning or something.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's very interesting in those games where I feel like I sort of run right up to the edge of like I learn what I want to learn about my own like patience and what it means to really like bang your head against something that you don't really need to do, but you're just doing for the sake of it. And you don't really
Yeah.
know, like you're sort of thinking about why you're doing it as you're doing it. Uh, and then, and then there is this very noticeable transition point where you enter the realm of like you clone your save and you reload up the save instead of just playing from where you fell. And it changes, it removes, like you basically enter like for me it's like I enter like a new mindset where I my journey's complete. Like now it's just sort of like let's give myself an easy go of it, knowing that now there's really no point. Like it's sort of like it it goes from like being on a mental journey of like self-discovery to like let's just see what else is in this game, because I didn't, like it's a weird mixture of things where it feels like I didn't have it in me to do what was necessary, but also there's other things going on in my life, so I can't take necessarily the time to do this arbitrary thing.
Mm.
But then also sort of like, well, what else is there? Like everything is an arbitrary thing that we assign value to, and we just do for the sake of whatever reason. So this game and this arbitrary challenge that I've chosen is just as good as anything to like run up against.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah.
so then yeah, and then it's interesting too. Like in real life, like we try hard at some things and we take shortcuts, and we sort of get less out of things when we like quote unquote cheat at them. But sometimes it's like if you like I like sort of almost like doing 90% of something, cheating at the end, just to know that there's nothing special about getting to that final, like just as promised all along the way, there's no final piece that like delivers you the answer. It's the
Mm.
end is just another part of the journey. And once you see that, then you're like, well, clearly then like the interesting thing is just like being given like a length to grind on. And it's kind of nice then. It's like because I skipped that final section, now like whenever I want, I can go back and face a challenge that I haven't like doing the full game and the full Manbreaker trail with no save scumming. That's like a challenge that I know is in my future if I want it to be, so I can sort of have it there. But also, I feel like I attacked it and learned about it from every angle. So I really understand what needs to be done.
Hmm.
It ends up reminding me a lot of like very long races. Like there's these multi-100 kilometer races where I feel like I've done sections of courses and I've seen like different amount running for different amounts of time. And so now putting that all together in the future at some point, I could do like a very long race if I want. There's no like need to, but it's nice to sort of have everything laid out to like sort of know to really sort of experience and play with like the idea of challenge a lot in different ways. And then
Yeah.
just sort of, but then you're still faced with like what, it's still on you to decide how much energy or something to put in. And uh, yeah, I find games like this game was surprising because as going into it, I just wasn't sure about the story and stuff, but uh, it's all like the game design is so good and the story works with the character and all the cutscenes and everything build on the same character development. And so I just felt it's such a solid experience. You can't, it's one of those games where you're just sort of like, it's just sort of like a solid art piece that does what it shows up to do. And you really get infinity like out of it
Hmm.
as you want. Like, uh, and then it's just a question of like, how much time do you want to spend like pulling things out of, you know, like this game or any, like, I guess any good piece of art, you can really pull like so much meaning out of it. And then it's just a question of like, how much do you want to do that before you move on to something else or something?
Yeah. Yeah. I resonate with strongly with the sort of like uh, I feel like I on emotional level do gravitate towards being like completionist with games. Like I think most recently with like Balatro and I'm
Oh yeah.
blanking on the Conquer, that game that you showed me, the little web
Oh
game.
yeah. Yeah.
Like I like beat like every single level in that. It took like a very long time. And like yeah, like similar with Balacha, where it's like I think they're like really good games, and I like got a lot out of it. And with like Balatro, like I did stop. There's like the two levels of completionist where one is like you complete like every single like deck, or I forget what it's called, but like
Oh
the
yeah.
all the way to the gold sticker on every deck or whatever, and all the
Mm.
challenges. And then there's like another level of completion that uh, is like the very final achievement, which is getting gold stickers on all of the cards, um, which uh, means you have to like beat like a gold run. I might be saying the wrong thing, but the highest level on like any deck, and like have a Joker at the end. So it just like it just seems like an absolute
Mm.
grind, and it's like I'm glad I had the self knowledge to like stop there and like not do that, because I feel that like once I start, I it would have a hard time stopping, and I wouldn't enjoy it anymore. And
Right.
I struggle with trying to balance these like emotional impulses to play these games through, and like I haven't really gotten into speedrunning for that reason, because I'm like I think while I would sort of like I think a part of me would really like this, like a part of my brain would love doing this, um, I would become more isolated and like imbalanced emotionally, like more so than, even with my current level of sort
Right.
of self-isolating, which is, mild but noticeable, I don't know. Like, it's like a tricky thing with, I think, games in particular, where they can take like so much time, um, that I have a hard time thinking about.
Yeah. I feel like I I'm always like very aware of like the point of diminishing return and the other concept of like the opportunity cost.
Mm,
Uh and so then yeah, I'll play a fresh like playing a fresh game and learning like a new control scheme and what a game is about and getting like put into the world of the game. I feel like that's a very high like you're getting info dumped and you're like it stimulates creativity, it gives you new ideas and everything. And
yeah,
then there's sort of like an amount of time and effort where you are breaking boundaries that you kind of didn't think you'd break, and that's you're like building new skill. But then at some point, it sort of transitions into like you know what you have to do, and it's just a matter of time. And then the longer the time goes on, it starts to I start to see myself in the third person, where it's sort of like if someone else is watching me do this, they can't blame me for like playing a new game or getting good at a game. But as you start to increase the hours, I just feel like if you look at that life, like the life I'm living in that situation, it's too easily like critiquable to be like, you could easily go do this other fresh activity and get so much more gains than this like increasingly arbitrary like time commitment to this already mastered like game, or not like mastered, but like
yeah, yeah.
well understood game. Uh, and then I get like that triggers sort of like an anxiety where it just feels
Mm,
like I owe it to the well-rounded individual that I want to be, to like break free of that. And but I don't. I often it's not like I ever like go out into the world and meet people or like interact with people. So I never
uh-huh.
end up doing that. I just end up like not like there's sort of a ceiling to like how much do I just feel makes sense to like try at something before it's just sort of like if I like as if you meet those really long-term arbitrary goals, I find it doesn't even like you tell people like I spent this many hours like doing a thing, and they're like, well, obviously you did it, you spent that many hours. Like
Yeah,
it's I like it to be more like I got in, I played the game for like the regular amount of time, and I got out of it what I needed, and I did a couple things that were like lightly assisted by like save scumming that sort of land me. I like seeing, a couple achievements that are like below like 2% or something of people. It sort of feels
mm,
like I took something away that, other people have played this game and know of it, but I can sort of chime in with like this little edge case thing that I did, and then I didn't do some other achievements. I can ask people about what those other achievements were like or something.
yeah.
Uh, there's one particular one that I thought was like I liked getting good at the Manbreaker Trail. I feel like that was I actually on like three-quarters up the Manbreaker Trail. There's moments where you learn like some very subtle, important things about like like footwork, like the speed and angle that you step your feet down, and the way that your knees like project forward, and so you have to like turn your torso to the side to like place your foot in the right. Like it was like the Manbreaker trail really taught me like and then walking on a slope at the right angle and the timing. I feel like it really like forces you to really have a great understanding of the controls, and I really liked that doing that Manbreaker trail. It was just fun to like do it over and over again and realize like, oh, I can just like plow forward at this one part. There's like no chance of falling. And I can go really fast, and then just like a delicate part that you identify, and you have to like shift into like a more patient mode and everything, and that's really fun. And then the one achievement that I thought was good was this one called Jesse's Gym. Uh, so whenever you're playing, if afterward, I don't think you would ever stumble across the location for this one because I had to like look up where it even was. It's pretty hidden, but then when you find it, it's this whole enclosed area, and there's like a time trial, like a short couple minute time trial, and it throws a bunch of obstacles at you. And I felt like, and there's a guaranteed like you complete the course, and it's like it shows you like you did it under the time, right? You get immediate feedback, and that was a very nice little area where it was like these are pretty hard, but I feel like after playing through the whole game and doing the Manbreaker, like I sort of know like how to treat each obstacle to make it uh to get myself through it. And that was like a fun little achievement that I could get after it all to sort of prove that I could figure out some of the more nuanced like ways of moving the character.
Yeah, that's really cool. Sounds like good game design, bringing a lot of depth out of like a simple idea, like executed
Yeah.
really, really well. Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of like just very subtle things in the game that really invoke uh like just one part was so like well handled where I was just like walking across like a snowy field, and instead of the camera usually hovers just behind the character, but as you're walking across this snowy field it like pulls back, and then your character gets smaller, and just this very subtle like pulling back the camera, it shifted me from being really focused on like taking each step and not falling and just kind of being like trying to navigate. It shifted me into this mindset of like, yeah, my guy is kind of small and he is alone. And why is he so like determined? And where's he going? And what is all of this for? Like it started making me feel like what a silly little guy, in this like snowy environment. He pushed past a lot of other characters that were trying to help him, and he's just kind of beelining for something. He doesn't even know what it is, and uh, he's just alone out here in this tiny little speck. But if you zoom in right to his shoulder, it's like this is the most important thing. Like I'm so cool, and it's like I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna be really good at this. And it was just funny how like just that like I can't believe the game design to just figure let's just pull the camera back, and we know we've sort of done what we need to do with the game to really just make that say something so profound about like the whole struggle of the game just by the distance of the camera from like the players.
Yeah,
I just
that's
felt
really
like that was
cool.
such, yeah, I was happy that, like just happy to like experience like the talent of these game designers that are just thinking on that level,
Yeah.
uh, and like trusting the player to like under like get something out of that message and not be heavy-handed at all about it or something.
Yeah, I feel like the changing camera like modes or views, like shifting cameras in games is like I feel like it's kind of a rare thing, but when it's done well, it's just like so cool. Like seeing from like this new perspective. Like I'm struggling to think of an example, but I know I've had that a similar experience with like a changing camera. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, that's neat.
There was that whole it's not really the same thing, but like that red versus blue like show that was filmed inside Halo,
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
like they just yeah, I don't know, that was some kind of mod or something, but they did a lot of good camera work there to
Mm,
communicate like just player who was talking or what to look at or something.
yeah, yeah, that's funny. Those were, yeah, I feel like those were like the original of like some genre. Like I can't quite put my
Yeah.
finger on, but they seem like a progenitor, early YouTube, like, um, yeah, like
Yeah.
skits.
Yeah, it's funny. It reminds me of like when an animal does something and then you can like layer in meaning into what the animal does to make it look like the animal's like very intentionally doing something. And
Yeah, yeah,
the games are like that. When you can like make a game look like some kind of arbitrary show that you want by just coincidence because different animations like look like that.
yeah. Yeah, I had this is very, very loosely related, but I had a thought for um like uh yeah, I mean, yeah, chess is like always my sort of like touchstone of games just because I've, poured a bajillion hours into that game. Um but like yeah, something maybe not even chess, but that like some sort of game that like tries to layer on like the metaphors that arise from like something more like simple and rule based, like with chess. Like the example is like that I was thinking of is like, oh, when you have like the the dragon like pawn structure, like it sort of it creates an artistic dragon, and like maybe that has properties that like affect the game state in or a wider game state in some fashion, or like a particular arrangement that like that not like making up things from scratch, but like the sort of like yeah, how to take a simple game, not that chess is like super simple or anything, but like the rules are relatively simple, and then like that has this like storied like long legacy or whatever. Like with I don't know, like with like Rocket League, like just like certain moves like have like names and things. Like there's like a way to like like
Oh
acknowledge
yeah.
more fully like the existence of the culture that surrounds the game, I guess is what I'm getting at. Um, but I don't know. This isn't a fully fledged thought. Just um,
Yeah, that is interesting. I don't know if it's exactly what you mean, but it reminds me of like creating new words and stuff where like coining a new term is like it's hard to do well, but then if you like one that's come up recently is this idea like Cory Doctorow's big idea like enshittification, like what's
yeah, I
happening
was
to
just
all
thinking
yeah.
of that as well as a
And that's
touchstone.
really yeah, it's like a whole thesis and then a concept. And then once you define that, others can like think about the world in a more like they have a word to use to describe a collection of feelings, which then they can communicate to each other quickly and it's more efficient. You can build on it. And
Yeah,
maybe kind of like in Rocket League, like it's not just, drive at the ball and see what happens. Suddenly there's like a formality to it and a language and like people are communicating on a higher level and then you can now like develop multi-step like maneuvers or strategies because you have like building blocks that like there's no reason that like cars driving in 3 dimensions in a soccer like game there's no reason for that to exist at all, let alone like exist and have definable like moves that have names. But it's weird that like once that does exist and everyone agrees that's what's happening and these are the names, then it's like this. It's like building a common playing field with like naming a move makes it like more likely that people will almost like use that move or think of it as like a discrete move. But then it's kind of interesting to think that like a professional, they don't maybe think in terms of like discrete moves for situations. They can like combine moves and find different, like they're almost like beyond the language. They're doing things that are not, don't quite, like they can almost predict what other players are capable of based on the way like the space has been separated into discrete moves and then exploit that to like
Yeah.
predict what the other players are going to do in some way. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah. It's so
their
weird.
building blocks are just like at such a higher level. Like it's for me, like with Rocket League in particular, it's so fun like listening to, I mean they're mostly just like teenagers, but like like sometimes they'll release videos that it's like they're during a tournament, they, them communicating. Um and like it's nearly unintelligible for me, and like I'm someone who has put in 1,000 hours into Rocket League or whatever. Not maybe not 1,000, but 500 at least. And like, I sort of know all the terms and everything, but just like they're speaking so quickly and using so much lingo and like, yeah, the reads they're making. It's like, yeah, I feel like maybe it's not very useful for like, or is easily imaginable for a game like Rocket League to do this, but like for something like chess, I can imagine like rendering the invisible visible. Like, I don't know exactly, but like when yeah, like when there are certain pawn structures or like um yeah, configurations, like sort of uh, I don't want to say like a guide, but just like something that like helps like acknowledge like the cultural like uh understanding of the game, like um as like a work of art almost. uh yeah, I don't know, like, yeah, maybe it can only happen when a game has like just a lot of history and a lot of players. But I feel like that's such like a fun idea of like doing like an interpretation on top of an interpretation, layering. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe
Now I'm
that's just.
thinking of like the whole Dark Souls universe. It's
Mm,
almost like that. Like we have, like everybody sort of gets told about history and thinks about like history in a certain way. I feel like Dark Souls, the lore and like Elden Ring and stuff, it like exploits the way that we intake history by like just the way that things are named and shown, and
mm,
the way like it sort of starts with like the you're in the ruins of some other civilization, and so it triggers like a feeling of like we shouldn't, like this isn't the time that we should be in this game. Like, it's sort of like a, the game was built, so shouldn't the game just be built uh in the age before everything fell to ruin? But then it's like it almost makes you feel like this world, like the world did exist and then it fell to ruin and we're here now for some reason. And then the way that characters are named and stuff, you're like, oh, that's clearly like a character that is from the other time that I just haven't heard of, and has a whole, like, you just assume it has a whole backstory because
yeah,
of the way it like it just gives you like, yeah, just enough like prompting where you're like, you just take it for granted that like this is all the way it is, and we could look into it but don't, and therefore we just assume it's all like uh from a greater like history or something.
yeah, that is like brilliant, like world building with all the, yeah, characters being out of time, and there's just like so much depth. Like, I
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't thought about. Dark Souls in a while, but just like even trying to like re-remember the lore, I'm just like, oh man, like they did such cool things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird to combining that with chess. It's like it makes me think, like there's all the names for like chess openings, and when you hear like a name for a new opening that you haven't been familiar with, you can tell it's like, oh, that sounds like a chess opening. I've always been
Yeah.
actually interested in that. And like similar to that, like, like you say the name of like a restaurant, and if it's well named, like you can kind of tell like, oh, that's the vibe they're going for. It's this kind of restaurant.
Hmm.
Sometimes though, things can like change category where like there like a restaurant will be named like the one I think of is like Ruth's Chris like steakhouse. It sort of is just like it's like, well, that's not, those are two people's names and that's not food.
Uh-huh.
And but it's sort of the way it is, it's like, oh yeah, that's like an upscale steakhouse. But what is communicating that? Like it's sort of just like it's just like different enough, but it like insists that like it's like, no, this is a correct name and you're the one who thinks it sounds weird. And then you're like, oh, like so it sort of tricks you into being like, oh, this is some sophisticated layer that I don't understand, being a mere like non
Uh-huh.
enlightened or something. And so then you just sort of like take their
Yeah.
word for it. You're like, oh yeah, they're cooking on something, but I'm too
Yeah.
dumb to know what it is or something. And then but they're just like confidently, yeah, declaring like something that, yeah, like triggers you to be like, it's like, well, I can't doubt this or
Defer.
critique it or something. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
defer to them. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Yeah, the yeah, the linguistics of that. Um, yeah, yeah, I don't
Yeah, because
know.
then
Yeah,
it's fun to try to like think of like an exercise, it's like make a name for like a fake chess opening that really sounds like a chess opening. But
uh-huh.
then there's a lot of room for like jokes or puns or something, or you can like you could name it. Yeah, there's like a lot of ways you could sort of like name it like almost like a meme or pick like a funny situation from like or like
Yeah.
modern. Yeah, and then
Have you maybe I've
yeah.
referenced it before, but there's a subreddit called Anarchy Chess. Um, and it's a lot of that. There's a lot of like in-joke lore, like maybe I mean I don't know if I've looked at it recently, but like 50% of which I know the reference, but
Hmm.
it is, yeah. So at this point, it's become like I don't know, somewhat unintelligible. But uh, I do appreciate like yeah, I don't know, like you shared like with the chess community and specifically having like gatekeepy vibes or just like
Yeah.
off-putting. I don't know. Yeah, maybe gatekeeping is the word. Which like I completely agree with. Um, and but I feel like this like the anarchy chess ethos is like taking all of that down a peg and is like this is just it's fun and like you can
Hmm.
make fun of it, you can like uh, be surreal with it, and it's like still I think it's like very beautiful like in a way. Um, like the sort of shared culture there. Um, but I do think they would benefit from like a post that's just like, okay, here's like the 10 in jokes that we constantly repeat, like, so people can
Oh
understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a funny like it makes me think like how like I don't know, this is probably simplification, but like Magnus Carlsen's critique of the world championship being that like the games are just super long, and
Yeah.
but that it's funny that like to look at the chess community and be like the championship should be decided by something less than like a week of like 9-hour games back to back, and it's like it should be shorter than that. And it's like this is anarchy. Like we could label this nothing other than complete anarchy. It's a challenge to the highest order. Like this will shake
Yeah.
everything up.
Yeah. Yeah, there's yeah, the yeah, the chess politics and the people in charge it's like it is an endless fount of drama and just like badness, but but I love
It's
the
funny
like
that,
people
yeah,
that are beginners who are just like, no, we're gonna reclaim this, and like it's also just like a fun game with like yeah, that we can like
yeah.
yeah, have fun with in all these other ways. Oh.
It's so funny that it's like it's a completely open source game that like you can just like explain the rules to someone talking. So uh like it should not be able, like you can draw a board on paper, you can play it in your head, you can explain the
Mhm.
rule, most of the rules like talking. And so it's like how could anyone claim ownership, especially to this kind of thing? That's like a fun game that could be played. But nevertheless, there's like an international like governing body. Uh,
Yeah.
and then separate from that, there's like chess.com, which is just like covered in ads. And it's
Yeah.
sort of like, it's like, how is there like a incredibly heavy ad driven site and like an uncompromising body of elders that like
Uh-huh.
instill these old customs, and
Yeah.
that yet it's like we just, there's like one French guy, I think he's French, that runs like Lee Chess, that
Yeah.
just runs it completely
Awesome.
free. It's
Yeah.
like how are how are all these things simultaneously true? That there's
It
like
is
a,
like a beautiful
yeah.
space opera in that way. Like it's like, yeah, there's Lichess with this like very explicitly sort of like anarchist styling, like no ads ever, like and then there's
Yeah.
chess.com, which is like, yeah, I mean know some of the people that like work there and stuff, and it's like, I don't think they're horrible people or anything for the most part, but like it is just like gotten a little bit out of control with the like capitalist urge.
Mm.
And then like FIDE, which is like this old timey sort of like I don't even just like more authoritarian, like the old guard, like ethos, and there are all these
Yeah.
yeah the competing factors. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it is so weird how it's such a like rich landscape.
Yeah, yeah, it like almost mirrors. Yeah, yeah, I love how like sometimes like subcultures can be like more revealing of like broader societal stuff sometimes because you can like dig into the like particulars of it. It could just feel like more, yeah, I don't know, tangible. Where like, yeah, like in shitification, for instance, it's like you can kind of see it with like chess.com. Like, I don't know. Like,
Right.
there's like, it's like, it started from basically nothing. Like, no one played, like, there was another chess website, like the Internet Chess Club that everybody played on. And it was like, the user interface was like hilariously old. Um, and then, yeah, like chess.com was like, okay, like, we're, gonna be like a tech company kind of. And they built up and they like, and then they had this long standing competition with Chess 24, and they just recently bought them out. But like it all for the worse because I don't know, like the old like Chess 24 broadcasts were like amazing. Like they were so fun and like specific. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It's just like there has been something lost in this process, and I think it's slowly. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've been manipulated into like spending money on these chessable courses for openings and like yeah, I don't know. I feel a way about that. Even as, someone who I feel like I should be savvy about this and like not waste my money on this stuff. But I don't know. It's a yeah, there can be many many books written about the modern chess landscape, I feel. Probably there will be.
Yeah, there's I guess the ideas, the root ideas that I'm kind of falling into now are uh like I feel like the like challenging capitalism is very rapidly becoming like more popular, but people have been so just like assuming capitalism is the way to go for so long that we don't have like the vocabulary or the ideas or like what it
Yeah.
means to like do anything to move capitalism out of the way in any way. We don't know what the alternative is. But I'm yeah through like Cory Doctorow, and then I guess there's like Ed Zitron, and there's a like a professor from Australia who runs a podcast called like This Machine Kills. He's more like explicitly like obtaining like the Luddite identity.
Mm.
And I went to see Cory Doctorow talk in Shitification talk over in the Mission District like a week ago.
Oh, cool.
Uh, yeah, and the person interviewing him was a professor, artist, and author from the Bay Area called like Jenny Odell, and she
Oh,
had
I
written
love
a
her.
book.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
love
like
her book. Yeah.
yeah, how to do nothing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm reading How to Do Nothing right now. I picked it
Oh,
up at the
nice.
event, and then I guess she has there's another book called Saving Time that is like her new book.
Oh,
I
I
don't
didn't
know
know
how
she
exactly how that's
did more.
distinct. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because actually in the How to Do Nothing book, she mentions like Grace Cathedral and the walking mazes there. And I walked over to Grace Cathedral a few days ago. And then she also mentions like the Rose Garden in Oakland. So I went there like
Yeah.
last weekend. I checked that out.
Oh, cool.
I have a lot of conflicted thoughts in these things uh, because it's very interesting that like every person cannot escape like who they are and where they're from and the assumptions that they have to make based on just their like life experience.
Hmm.
And uh it's difficult because uh like I guess like stuff that kind of puzzles me, like yeah, I've sort of obtained like no way to sort of think about this kind of stuff, but it's like if I go to Oakland, it's all cars and it's traffic and it's like overpasses, and it's very clear that like cars are a technology and they're not good, especially in the context of like a place that's like a bunch of like industrial parking lots and single family homes and roads and trash like in Oakland for the most part. But then
Yeah.
like, you know, like the thing we apparently do need more of is like these public spaces like the Rose Garden. And then, like the handful of people that have like single family homes near the Rose Garden, they can walk to it, and they can like in the era when like Trump is president, they can go to the Rose Garden and sit there and say that like actually we kind of do have everything we need, which is just like we can all find these little quiet places to sit and ponder things, or like just the concept of doing nothing can save us almost in some way by showing us that everything we truly need is kind of just with us. Like there's no product thing we can buy. We can't get a bigger house or move to a beach resort. Like none of these things will change the fact that we just need a quiet place to sit, and we need to help each other, like have sort of a sense of community and stuff maybe. And this is not directly like related to what the book is kind of saying. But then it's interesting that like at one point they mentioned that like in the 1930s, this like Rose Garden was built via the New Deal, where they gave everyone who didn't have jobs like during the recession like jobs, and one of the jobs was building the Rose Garden. And then in like the 1960s, they wanted to make the Rose Garden into condos. And that's an interesting point because it's like that would be like it's like interesting here where it's like, well, we can't get rid of the last public space, the Rose Garden, because then there would be no public space. And no matter how much you built condos and solved the housing problem, what would that mean? Like no one would have any space. But of course, as much as we need the Rose Garden, the lessons that we learn from it teach us that we don't actually need that either. Like we just need, because later she talks about like the 533 silent music orchestral piece, which is like, I guess I think it's called 533 or whatever. It's like, yeah, the silence, where it's just about like listening to the sounds around you.
Mhm.
And then also that like, like trash on the side of the road is not conventionally art. Like this isn't in the book, I don't think, but like everything is art. You know, you can analyze everything, every smell and sound is equally deep and not and doesn't need to be like owned or produced or like made better. So there's kind of just this thing where it's sort of like if we sort of just pick whatever way things are like right now, and we just say that like actually that's good enough because we can find a way to like prove that we can sort of get what we need to get for ourselves out of the current like status quo. It's sort of it's like, you know, it's like that is an important thing to know, is that we can always like achieve happiness by living, but then also like but it's hard to like, as soon as it's just confused. It's very confusing to me, not these ideas in particular, but this space, because it's sort of like, if we say the rose garden is good, then what we're saying is that people who don't have access to a like, I'm just using the rose garden as like a generic, like
Uh,
nice space to be in. And it's sort of like, look at all of Oakland. Like there's people that are near a rose garden and there's people that aren't. And if you attach like some kind of meaning to the rose garden, then you're saying that the people that don't have one are like at a disadvantage and maybe they should have one. Uh, but then yeah, it's sort of just like, it's like, and they should have one. But when like, so now we're just calculating like what's the right ratio of rose gardens to roads to buildings to build. And I feel like we could sort of take a shot at like defining that, but then that, I don't know. Yeah, it's just like, it's just confusing, like where's the landing place. And like ultimately that's why I sort of go back to like people grow up in an area under certain conditions, and that makes them feel like certain things are correct and others are not. And then in life they face like things that don't make sense, and that bothers them. And then they find a way to like flex and bend so that they really do get the enjoyment they want, and they sort of avoid the things they don't want.
mm,
Uh, but then I feel like it's very difficult. Like this book does a good job of being like, this book is like, it right at the start, it's like, this isn't going to prove a point. It's just going to
yeah.
throw ideas out there, and it's like inviting you to go for a walk, you know, metaphorically. And so that's kind of a nice way to start the book, where it's like, there's no, like, you don't have to feel like as a reader you're supposed to take away like a lesson from this person who's mastered something and is handing it down to you. They're just like sharing their experience as anyone would, and that's like valuable to us. And then we can sort of do what we need to with that to get ourselves to where we might want to be.
Right. Yeah, it's
uh
like it's a very I feel like it did help me when I read it, and I wouldn't label it like a self-help book. Like just
yeah.
yeah, it
uh
doesn't feel that way, like in the way that other self-help books sort of feel a little shallow. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like with like the yeah, like the rose garden and like allocation of public spaces, and like I feel like it's um what it's like bringing up for me is like man, I wish like that like those communal like conversations and just in decisions, like or those types of decisions could actually like happen communally. Like it's like, you know, for different communities of people, and like it's gonna be different, and but like just like the way that power structures are, it's like it doesn't really matter that much. Like or yeah, there's just basically I just think there's just like not enough people power in like most places in the US, at least. I can say confidently. Like it's yeah, I don't know. Like those that have the power to like make those decisions, um, you know, I just have 1,000 times more money and uh, like
Yeah.
leverage of power in like all of its facets compared to like I don't know most people that would be affected by those decisions. So I'm like I feel like it's like beautiful to like think of uh, try to think of like how to arrange public spaces, um, and yeah, I feel like the the thing required for that to matter is like yeah, just more people power, but maybe we're getting there slowly.
Yeah, that's I always want to like intake more of these ideas because I feel confused at the moment. Like some stuff I've run up against is when you enter spaces, like I've done some stuff with like the Alphabet Workers Union, and now I'm listening to like these different podcasts that mention like they mention quotes from like Marx and Luddism and union like worker owned outlets and stuff. And what I notice is like anytime you enter a space where every voice is equal, it it does feel like chaos. Like the thing that we think of as we've come to know as like chaos, like it does feel like that. It feels like people are openly disagreeing and there's tension and ideas like very different ideas are present and
Hmm.
there's no like like it's definitely by definition it's a space where no one is in charge and mediating and filtering so that like you get delivered like a false choice of cleaned up ideas. Like you just get the raw, like whatever, like everyone challenging every aspect of everything. Uh, and but then like being in those spaces, it's like I guess this is like the true way that we had the only way to hear like every voice is this. But this does really like trigger like a chaos. Like it really makes you want to be like a problem solver where you just sort of in a more heavy-handed way like start shaping and organizing and like summarizing and driving initiatives forward. But the only way to do any of that is to like start like like if you're taking a space where every voice is equal and you're moving to like collecting voices together and cutting some out and amplifying some that are more clean and cleaning stuff up, all you're doing is like just silence, like you're just choosing which voices to get silenced effectively and then which ones to be like amplified to make it to make the average person's experience in the space like more uh like less chaotic or something. And so in that sense like it doesn't like I feel very frozen in those spaces where it's like any attempt to like move things forward is like introducing a bias from me to like move toward like the more like ordered side of things. And as like like a confident person it's too easy to do that. So
Hmm.
then but then the other thing but then it's like good like active listening is like kind of just waiting around and listening to other people's ideas and thinking about them and just sort of like overall like having a fine privileged life while other people like voice their concerns and I do the best thing possible which is like just listen to them but then can't really act without becoming an actor in the space and then sort of starting to like drive the conversation more than be a active listener or something.
Yeah.
And then yeah and then it leads to like sort of a because yeah I sort of feel like a little bit like there's never like you can never make the bubble or the group like big enough. Like it's sort of like if the future power is like all like let's say all American workers like come together and we get a lot of power and we shape like we make this beautiful landscape of like the right balance of public spaces and basic income and healthcare and like the 4-day work week and all these things that we want. that's a very powerful, like attractive bubble that exists around like the American country, and it becomes like a very, it's just another way of like the dominating people that have it the good way are like inside the bubble, and then you have this challenge of like I get one good thing about that bubble would be like letting a lot more people in freely. Like anyone who wants to enter and adopt these values or live this way can. But then there's like country. It's like you can't make that bubble the size of the planet without like wiping out other nation states that don't want that to be the case. And their people have been like raised on an educational system with a way of thinking about the world from birth that like goes against this like worker unionized thing. And so then there is like a tension, and then but it's like there's gonna be, but that's, I guess that's the interesting thing is like instead of a room of voices that are equal, let's look at like every nation is a voice that is equal, and the correct way for it to be is a bunch of voices pushing and pulling against each other. And if you went onto the international scale and you instilled like an international order, that would be like bias to one or a few nations, and it would silence other nations, and it would start to shift the power. Uh, so it just seems like the answer in some way is like embrace and feed like a system of chaos where every idea can sort of be there at the same time, but it's so hard to yeah, it's very hard to like conclude on something that it's like something other than uh yeah, like something that accomplishes something, or uh but then yeah, at the same time we sort of know like any sort of people in charge that get too powerful, and there's like a feedback loop where they get more and more powerful, and that's bad. But
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't, this space, like I'm very like it's very unclear to me. Uh like it feels very easy to like look at the whole chaotic system and be like actually, you know what, I can go to the rose garden near my house and sit there quietly, and that actually works for me. And everybody I meet in this entire area, it probably works for them too. And so that is good advice. But also, uh, the issue kind of is like it's just so, because we're already privileged to a certain point, it's just so easy to like, it just bothers me that like that it's like that solution would work for me, and it's because I'm privileged, and I wish that it didn't, because that would force me to like fight for that solution for my kind of people, like that I would represent authentically, instead of like it's like I wish that whoever wasn't living near a rose garden would be a lot more angry about that and be calling me, you know, and having me help them do something about it.
Mm.
Because I don't know, you know, like I can't fight for a rose garden to be built in all the places that I don't live, in all the different like life circumstances in different countries. Uh,
Yeah.
like it's sort of like it's just like, yeah, it's very frozen feeling where it's like, oh, those people don't have the platform to help themselves. Uh, and if I help them, it will sort of be like not probably in the way that they should be helped. Uh, but it's like, what do you know, how do I sort of approach, you know, or like, and not just me, but like in general, like what is the solution here? It's just so amorphous. But I guess I really feel like good art can provide like clarity there, or at least
Yeah.
like sort of feel like it does. And that's weird too. It's uh, like looking at art and having an epiphany. Yeah, I don't know. Something very interesting is there. Like it's like, could the right artwork like change enough people's minds on sight of the artwork that it actually does create like a cultural shift and move us in a better direction, just by like, I guess, you know, like the right TV shows certainly have an ability to like, everybody, if everybody watches Andor and just thinks about the parallels between that and our world.
Yeah.
Maybe that does it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's like, yeah, I feel like, yeah, I had like so many thoughts. Yeah, it's nice to, yeah, hear you grapple with all of this. I feel like I've, yeah, grappled with like similar thoughts and feelings. And I think like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just like with respect to like what to do, just like and the I don't know, this like sort of the you described as like chaos inherent to more like horizontal organizing
Mm.
structures. I feel like that is like something that it's like at least how I up in the yeah just my priors is just like not something I was used to, and like something that did feel really beautiful when I sort of like felt more at home in a like space. Um, there's like some quote, I don't remember who, but said this, but that uh, like action. I might be messing it up, but it's like something like action can only move at the speed of trust, and I like very much like feel that where it's like I think you can do some things with people that you don't trust or know for sure. Like if you have shared goals, um, but then there's also like so much more you can do with like people you trust, um, and then yeah, it sort of like opens up this whole new world of like uh, being able to like sit in a 2.5 hour long meeting with like people that have different ideas about how to like I don't know create more freedom, you know, and like for ourselves and like our loved ones and community, and it doesn't feel like like just like frustrating and like debilitating, I guess. Um, where it's like okay, yeah, like everybody's sort like on everybody at least like trusts each other, and then I feel like I can just take one action that feels like aligned with something I'm interested in or like care about or whatever,
Mm.
and I'm like well oriented. Yeah, like in my action, even if it's like maybe this isn't the right answer, like uh, maybe this won't actually do anything, but it's like worth trying. Um, as opposed to I don't know, like more sort of dominant models of like doing politics, I guess, that just feel kind of alienating or like yeah, like you don't actually have a say in it. You're not like sure how it affects things or like if it's like actually including all the people you want to include. Yeah, I don't know. Um, but I've had yeah similar feelings in all sorts of spaces where I do feel a little bit like I can feel a little frozen. Um, where like I yeah don't have I didn't grow up in Oakland. Like how am I about to like um, help organize a protest or something like on behalf
Mm.
of the people that live and grew up in Oakland, um, but just like yeah, so I don't know. It's tricky. It's a constant
Yeah.
struggle.
Yeah, it's very tempting. I want to like it really makes me feel like trying to outline some like the like Stephen Wolfram's theory of like computational irreducibility. I don't know so many details about it, but
No.
just that it's essentially like it's kind of like one example of it is uh like there's very hard problems like if you look at the flow of water in a river, it's modeled by like a differential equation,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes a lot of like I think there's like numerical ways to solve the problem and predict the flow of water. But his point, not necessarily exactly with that, but also with like the erosion of like a rock or something over time. The thing is like you could have like a supercomputer tell you how that rock is going to erode by modeling every atom inside of it.
Mm,
Uh, but maybe not. Maybe like for some processes, the most efficient or the only way to calculate what will happen in the future is to do it in real time. Uh, I guess you could say that about the world. Like with enough computers modeling every sort of quantum thing, could you predict the future by making a more efficient model of the world and then spinning it forward? That would
uh,
be something that you could computationally reduce the cost of that computation to like get faster and exceed time itself. But it's also possible that like things like the world are so complicated that the best way to know what's going to happen in the world is to just let the world run at real time, and it's computing itself in real time, and there's no way to simplify it to do it like faster. uh
yeah.
and then so things like trust are uh like it's like what's the speed that you can build trust, and is there a way to make it infinitely faster always? Could we get it down to like a second or a millisecond where you can exchange trust between two people? Because if not, if there's some like lower threshold that it takes a year for people doing a certain like optimal set of actions to trust each other, maybe it takes about a year before they're really willing to do certain things. In that case, there's a human lifespan of like about 100 years, so you have like 100 trust building like units, and there's like an upper bound to like how fast you can build trust with how many people in order to effectuate like so many ideas that rely on that trust before you're replaced by other younger people that are somewhere along the curve of building trust. And you could calculate like by knowing that like the speed that trust can be built at its fastest, you could calculate like how tightly knit can humanity be and what can they accomplish, uh, and what can they not, because there isn't enough time to build trust in the human lifespan to build on top of certain things, because there's also like an issue of like there's philosophical books with like proven ideas in them that are now getting like called into question because we've grown like distant enough from the original authors that people don't just like blindly trust these like thinkers anymore. They think that there's political bias in like all these ideas, and so we're also like losing like we're losing some of the foundations of like science that have been done by
Yeah,
trusted authorities. And so there is like a rate of loss of trust. And
yeah,
so now we're in this, it's like, have we gotten as far, it's like maybe humanity just has grown large enough that by the time you build trust on new things, you lose things at the same rate. And we're sort of in this window of like the speed that we're building trust is the speed that we're losing it. Uh, so it's just like a moving window. It's not growing to a point where we can trust ourselves more. And I wonder if there's some kind of like this is interesting because it's like it does make sense that there would be some upper bound to some kind of sort of size or something. And then what is that? Like you could almost calculate like what's the size of a community and the rate of birth and death and the transportation methods and like the exchange of information. Like all of that could say something about like how uh or yeah, maybe it gets into a bit of like chaos theory or something though, because you never know, like some new person who's not connected by through trust will come up with like a new idea that's random, and then that will take hold for a while until like yeah, things like work itself out.
yeah, yeah. I think like the yeah, that's really interesting thoughts. Like the idea of like trust being eroded at like an epochal
Mm.
scale with I don't know, misinformation and stuff. Like I think is very
Mm.
real. And yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, it also like uh the thing that I put my hope into is that it also grows like really fast because it's like a exponential chain. Like it's like oh like if like someone's like my best friend, then they have a best friend. Like I'm
Oh yeah.
probably gonna like trust them like very quickly, you know. So like smaller groups, I feel like can build it a lot quicker when they. It's like, oh, this person's like my sister. Like I'm like, okay, you're, you know, I feel like I can probably trust you to not like uh, betray like your own sister, you know. Um, but yeah, not to yeah, always got to be careful. But I yeah,
Mhm.
in like the bigger the group, the harder that is. But um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that that's a great point about. I think it is kind of like harder than ever in some ways with just the state of like where the information landscape is. Like it's it's hard to like learn things. I feel and feel confident. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, all very interesting though.
Yeah.
I feel yeah, I'm still stuck on the idea of I want to make like hip hop songs for this Min Hacks jam, and
Oh yeah.
it'll be I think I'll gather like different new show plus maybe center it around like the ice plunge one, and I'll work in some reason to have like hip hop music in the game. But I also feel like these stuff that we're talking about right now is the most interesting thing to me, and I feel like everything is art, and so like new show pluses are art and can be like just because it's sort of like something I'm enjoying at the moment, like watching min max like new show plus. It's like I wonder how like could I really get to some kind of very interesting route, like just analyzing an arbitrary new show plus or combination of them, and then work that into like some kind of core revelation or principle, and then sort of I really like the way of presenting things through like a hip hop song because it's like I can write a hip hop song that like introduces an idea, but I love that songs are so like ambiguous and the way they can be interpreted. They really can because then it's like if I just get inspired by a new show plus and feel something and put that in a song, then other people can like pull apart my song. And if the song is good enough, it doesn't matter what I intended, they can find any meaning they want like in the song. And so
Yeah.
then it's sort of like it's just like I just want an excuse to like spend time thinking about stuff, and then I'll make a song and maybe that gives someone else an excuse to spend time thinking about stuff. Uh, and that's pretty it's just like interesting there. Uh,
Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I hope. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. If you find uh, like a root meaning to like the idea of doing a weekly show. I don't know, based on
Yeah.
like a community vote, I guess.
I was thinking too of briefly, I was thinking of like what can I add that's like a multiplayer thing using like a server? But I realized actually that if people are like watching like any interaction would be like people are playing the game via like a website and then watching the stream on Twitch, which would have a delay. So when you're playing the game, like it would be like maybe 10 seconds behind what you're seeing on the stream. So it's
Mm.
not like yeah, any sort of like if you have the sound coming from the stream, you know, that really does create like you can't like look at what they're doing on stream and then like go intercept them or mess with them because there's a 10-second delay. So you'd be sort of just like playing the game in silence in one tab and then in the other 10 seconds later, you might see, oh, I did that. You did something interesting. And then 10 seconds later, it happens like on stream. And so I feel like that's actually something I didn't think about before was that like you're either like playing the game or watching the stream, but any sort of attempt to connect the two has this problem of like a like multiple seconds lag. It wouldn't be yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that is tough. Yeah,
So yeah, it just something else to have to like design around that. If I need to add something very like passive that could
mm.
be multiplayer.
You so you think you're gonna go for it with the multiplayer?
I might just do something where like the game stands on its own and then multiplayer is like a completely non-necessary like addition so that
Mm.
if it just maybe it just adds like people can do something on a website and see something in the game later and be like, oh, there's a connection, but not in a way that like matters just from like a technical interest point. I wonder if that could happen.
Mm.
Or yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that would be neat. Seems like a good challenge to try. Yeah, I think I'll do my uh like idea of the satire Vampire Survivors thing. See how that turns out.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, I know. I still haven't. Maybe I'll play Vampire Survivors so that I can better understand. Because yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting when like they've all played it. So then whatever you come up with, I'm sure they'll like understand the nuance and stuff.
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is definitely like an easy one to jump into. You can just play it.
yeah,
Yeah, you can play for 10 minutes and kind of get the gist, I think. Yeah. Kind of a brain
yeah.
off thing.
Well, I guess we can end. I did have one more thing. It's like in 2019, in Advent of Code, there was like a brick breaker puzzle. I don't know
Mm.
if you have done like Advent of Code, or I forget if we talked about it before.
Yeah, you showed it to me. I've never done it before.
Yeah. Yeah, this actually, I just recently redid it to kind of do some like interview practice or like a thing adjacent to interview practice.
Mm.
But it's like multiple days actually. Like it starts with like you get like an array of integers, but every integer could be either a command or an argument. Like the number, if you see the number one, it means go to like get the next two numbers in the array and add them together and then get the next number, and that number is the index where you should save the result of the addition.
Mm.
And so the program and the memory for the program is all, I guess, what real computers do, just in like one big grid. And so the program could modify itself, or there's like jump instructions that check if something is zero. But then after you do like 4 days in, on day 13, there's like it tells you like, by the way, these numbers represent like balls and walls and paddles and like type blocks or whatever. And then these two memory addresses will be checked for like if it's one or -1, the paddle will be moved left and right. And it just basically it allows you to like render this brick breaker game in your terminal and then play it, and the score is like the answer. But I made it like when I redid it this time, I made it so that you can like, as if you have like a debugger, you can like step one command at a time through the program, like this program that is just a bunch of numbers.
Cool.
You can do like one step at a time, or you could set a breakpoint for a certain address and then run the program and it'll stop at that address. And I did it all like all I do is type the character S like into the terminal, and when you type S, that's like one step, or R is like one run, is like run until the next end.
Mm.
Uh, but then I think I made it good enough so that I can now wrap it in like a graphical user interface, and I could have like a play button and a step button and show the memory and probably even visualize the game like in a side panel, and you can set a breakpoint and like advance the game to the breakpoint. So I feel like I just didn't do any of the graphical UI stuff, but I'm gonna do that in React at some point.
Very
So I was kind of
cool.
excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think I will try this out this year. This looks like a lot of fun. Very creative.
Yeah, this day it's going to be only 12 days instead of usually it's like 25 days. But the guy
Mm.
just wanted like an easier time implement, because he has like a full-time job. He takes like 4 months every year to build the puzzles. So finally he's like giving himself an easier time.
Nice. Good for him. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I can send you the list of days that are the brick breaker. You could message me if you end up wanting to do that, or you could just join in this December and see what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah, I think I'll just join this December. Try it out
Yeah.
from scratch.
Yeah, it'll be fun in December. Yeah.
All right. You want to I just wanted to ask you about one thing, but maybe off recording. I don't know,
Yeah.
care, but uh,
I
I don't
can,
know.
yeah, I guess I don't care either way. I can cut it out of the recording
Oh, okay.
later if we want to do
Yeah, I
that,
just wanted to ask
if we
about
want.
the job interview stuff. How that's going.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm fine to do that on recording. Yeah, so the job on this Friday, I have like a 90-minute interview that it's this company that's going to check if I like know JavaScript. And if I pass that like 90-minute check, then they're going to let me do like four like hour-long interviews that are will be more like the classical like solve a problem, talk about your like conflict de-escalation experience.
Uh-huh.
I think one of them is going to be like a systems design interview too, but they said that it's a front end position, so they won't like weight that so heavily. But yeah, that's what I've been like reading more about because they told me like they're like study like this, like because JavaScript has like a this keyword and it has like classes and uh, they talked about they also said like the coupling and decoupling of like components and how you can sort of separate parts of a program and have them not be as dependent or more dependent on each other.
Mm.
And they said like like prototypes and maps. So they mentioned a lot of like things about JavaScript that I did some like reading on. So I think that should go fine. And then I'll just have to study React a bit to like get good at the other interviews.
Nice.
And then there's this company that I came across called like Expensify, and I was reading like their like
Yeah.
application pitch page. Have you read it? Like they're like it's like 3 months of paid leave and 1 month a year. Everybody goes to like an offsite for a month and works remotely. And this year's in like Bali. And then they're like, there's a bunch of language on the site of like, they're like, tell us what you want to accomplish in life. And like, by the way, we're serious. Like, we want you to be like the best version of like, they're like, you excel at all
Yeah.
aspects of yourself. And I was like, this is like some amount of people that are like just chosen to have this like really strong ethos and they make like a expense
I
tracking
I'm
software.
remembering all this funny stuff, like, because yeah, the startup I worked at for 5 years, we used them. Maybe they're just like the
Oh yeah.
generic startup expensing tool. I don't know, but they, yeah, I feel like they would always send these emails that were like very like you're like an expense company, like they would like care like so much about like social issues and like be like really like I don't know, kind of yeah, like hippie-ish and like leftist and stuff and it's like yeah, I always found that pretty funny.
Yeah, I was kind of interested, like, because I could see like someone just starting a company that's quite self-sustaining, and whoever the founder is, if they're just like a certain type of person that is like enjoying the stability of a company and the slow growth and just kind of bringing in new people that share their. But I have no idea who like runs it or something.
Yeah,
It was
I
hard to
used
even
to
tell.
receive
Like,
emails from whoever that was. Yeah, uh,
yeah.
but I don't remember. Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, I hope that all goes well.
Mhm.
Sounds fun or stressful, I guess, depending.
Yeah. Then there is. I think there's also in the next few days, I think I'm going to get an offer from this one company that my friend works at. But the way they hire is like they hire you through a contractor. Uh, so I think I asked them to like set the pay scale at a certain amount, and we'll see how well they can do that. But working for a contractor is like the contract would be like 1 year, but probably would be like renewed, and you could go maybe full time with the company after. And but you have to like log your hours and to get like you can get like higher pay by accepting like no paid time off, but like
Hmm.
but then they explained like they're like we can pay you like this amount if you have no time off, but also you can take time off whenever you want, you just won't get paid for the hours that you don't log. uh, but then they're like you can have this many days of paid leave, but then your pay would go down, your annual pay would like go down, because they sort of explained it. They're like paid time off is like a savings account where like we take money off your pay in order to like build a pool of savings, which we then use to pay you for like the time off. And that would be a way to like stabilize your paycheck month to month, where you could
Hmm.
take like paid time off. But they're like, if you just want like all the money and then have like, if you took like a month off, I guess you'd get paid nothing for that month. And as long as you're not like living from paycheck to paycheck or something. Uh, so that was all it's kind of weird, but it would be like a fully remote job. So it would still allow me to like move back to the Washington area, which I want to do, or the Puget
Nice.
Sound area. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I hope, yeah, I don't know, all the move and stuff works out
Yeah. And
well for
also,
the family.
yeah, the main thing that I hope to get out of it is just like a job that really lets me work on React.js and improve my skills there, because I just feel like working on the web and with React.js and components, that's really like a skill that would kind of let me, that's like the one thing that I would need to have to build anything that I want to build, like any website or web app or
Yeah.
anything would start with that.
Yeah.
So that's really the thing that, like, the skill that I want to have. Uh, then the whole other thing would be like, I just have not found any way to get into like the game. Actually, this other idea too was like, at some point in the future, me and my wife were thinking like, could we ever live like north of Toronto in Canada in a house like somewhere,
Mm.
and operate sort of something like a family run like multimedia art studio, where we just like, we could even write a book or make a video game or do some contracting work or make a web app, and like that would just be the output of our studio, and we'd make hopefully small amounts of money from that and just kind of live cheaply. uh, but that was an interesting concept, is like, because then it's also like if I had nothing but time, maybe I could write a book, and if I wanted, you could write it like strategically so that it could become kind of like picked up as like a guide to something, and then it would be nice to have like a book under your belt and some passive income, and just have sort of a collection of projects or something that felt like they were generating some small amount of money, or just the fact that you could sort of work on what you wanted and get it out there would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a fun vision. I like that. I feel like I'm yeah, currently sort of I don't know, for the past year and a half just been like trying to like spur myself on creatively, which I'm like would make more sense if I were living somewhere that like didn't have high rent. But
Right. Yeah.
um yeah, so that's the only flaw is like, yeah, sort of losing money more rapidly. Otherwise, I feel like I would be like feel less nervous. Um
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, I like that idea. Or um yeah, the learning something a little more front end facing, like, or something where you can like, yeah, create a full like front end facing thing would be a nice skill to learn. I feel like similarly, I'm like I want to learn Blender soon, so I can like actually really like make my own art, and I don't know how I want to realize it, but I
Right.
guess that'll be a whole process. Yeah.
Yeah. Blender feels like a pretty significant tool
Yeah.
for making some cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, should go grab dinner with partner, but nice talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Good talk. Yeah. I'll see you.
See ya.